And this is one that's kind of close to my heart because I consider myself a baseball purist. I really do. I was the one that was against and it might sound simple and just stupid, but the not throwing the 4 pitches on an intentional walk. I don't like it, but then again, since it's been initiated, I kind of forgot about it.
Yeah.
They're all these little, changes and nuances. Hell, we even talked about the stealing first, which I think is absolutely ridiculous. I think we both did.
Yeah.
But this one here, it's been talked about for years, and it's bringing the DH to the National League. Now, like I said, I love the fact that it takes a different manager, a different type of manager, a different type of strategy to manage an NL team as opposed to an AL team with the double switches. Mm-hmm. Hell, we've seen, was it Madden for the longest time would bat as pitchers 8 instead of 9th. Yep. I think it's more of a finesse game rather than just a pound game, where the American League is more traditionally. I'm sure you can make an argument there's a team here, team here that doesn't fit this mold, but I'm just saying overall. Generally you see more home runs in the American League. You have, it's like the hitters are, shined on in the American League, whereas the pitchers normally get to be shined on in the National League. And yeah, like I said, they're trying to do this for 2021, if I believe. Yep. And like I said, I baseball, the game that I fell in love with when I was 8 or 9 years old, or probably even before that, that's the game that I want to enjoy. Now, I'm going to put this out there, and then we're going to give you some pros and cons of this possible change. I think that baseball is getting there in efforts to get more fans, newer fans. They might end up losing the fans that they've had. Yep. So is it going to increase watch time? Are you going to get more people in the stands? I think if you go too extreme, you're just going to trade one for the other. Mm-hmm. And that's pretty much not the purpose. Mm-hmm. You're trying to add on what you already have. I mean, it's a business. You're trying to make money. You're trying to sell tickets. You're trying to sell concessions. Yep. If you're pissing off your core fans and they leave just to bring in new ones, seems kind of silly to me. Mm-hmm. Now, with that being said, I've given my thoughts. So 2Ks, what are your thoughts? Because I know you love baseball just as much as I do. And you're a coach, so you have that, a little bit more insight than I do. So what are your thoughts?
I've talked about it a lot, that I'm not a fan of really any of these rule changes. I get it that they're trying to draw fans in, but like you just said, I think they're gonna end up losing, a lot of their old time fans that have fell in love with the game the way it has been for 100 years. Yep. And now, I mean, this argument here talking about bringing the DH to the National League, out of all the rule changes that I've heard the last 2 or 3 years, this one probably really doesn't. I don't really care.
It's not as outlandish and silly as some of the other ones.
Like I look at 3-batter rule. Yeah. That rule drives me nuts. That to me, you're talking about guys' jobs. I mean, you might have a guy that has had a job for 10 years in the major leagues being a left-handed specialist.
Yes.
And now you're talking about his job, being gone because you can't do that. You can't play that matchup game anymore.
No, and what you're going to see is managers just staggering righty lefty righty lefty mm-hmm. righty lefty mm-hmm. in their lineup to combat that.
Yeah, and how long is it going to be until we have teams that are faking the injuries so that way we can get them out of there in big situations. Obviously, you're not going to be able to use that every day,
right?
But in a big situation,
I know the Astros might.
Yeah, in a big situation game though, you talk about in the playoffs or something, or a game 7 or something like that. Why would you not use it?
Yeah, I mean, and you really can't argue a guy, especially athletes nowadays that are so tall and mm-hmm. strong. I mean, all it does is take one step and you tweak mm-hmm. your back.
And I already hate the pitchers being on the clock.
Yeah.
I can't stand that. What was it, like 3 or 4 years ago when they went to the batters, not being able to have to keep their foot in the box mm-hmm. at all times, which, They brought that rule into effect, and you still see batters foul pitches off, and they walk around. The box. I look back at all the years watching the Tigers with Victor Martinez.
Oh yeah,
he'd turn, into a minute before he would get back in the box.
The one that comes to mind off that is Big Papi.
Yeah.
Big Papi seemed to take
get the batting gloves,
and, at least 2 minutes. It seemed like in between pitches.
But me as a baseball fan for my entire life, I like that. You know,
Nomar
pitchers already have the advantage.
Yeah.
I mean, we're talking if you're getting a hit 30% of the time, you're a Hall of Famer.
Yep.
So you already know pitchers have the advantage there.
Mm-hmm.
So for a batter to be able to take his time and this is just pissing that pitcher
focus.
off out there having to stand there and wait, because most pitchers, especially starting pitchers, they want to get into a routine and they want to go and they want to quick pitch you and and especially if everything's rolling for them really well, they want to be able to go. But it's just the way that, like, if you're changing rules and it's making a difference in the outcomes of games, that's where I have a problem with it. Like,
and it just came to me another rule that they implemented that just you kind of go by the wayside is the mound visits.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
I was kind of that one catchers were the ones that were exploiting that.
Mm-hmm.
Gary Sanchez it seemed like between every 2 pitches was going out to the mound. That was a little overboard. That was a little ridiculous. This, I mean, I can kind of understand. I'm not mad at that one.
Yeah.
I'm not. And to be honest with you, since it's been initiated, how many times has it been an issue?
Mm-hmm.
Maybe twice.
Yeah.
I don't remember a game where someone ran out of mound visits.
Yeah.
They got very close with one or two left, and I watch a lot of baseball.
Yeah.
And I think, like I said, maybe once or twice it actually came, and it caught the announcers by surprise. They're like, oh, wow, they've only got 1 mound visit left.
Yeah.
And kind of a funny story with that is my brother Josh and his wife Melissa went to a White Sox game. And Josh takes a picture of the scoreboard, and he says, what the hell is MVR? I had to take a step back, and I was like, so he texted me that. I was like, where's it being used? Send me a picture. So he sends me a picture of the scoreboard. It said MVR 5, MVR 4.
Mm-hmm.
Mound visits remaining.
Mm-hmm.
There we go. There we go. So,
yeah, and another a rule that irritates me now is bringing the replay into it. If you want, I'm not. It's not that I'm against the replay. What I'm against is these managers that are holding the hand up, waiting for everybody up in the booth to watch it and see if we're going to use if we should use the replay. If it was if there's a bang bang play and you say, hey, I want that reviewed, you don't know for a fact that you're gonna be right on it. I'm okay with it, but when you can actually stand there and stop the game and hold your hand up and be like, hold on, now I want to get another angle on it before I make this. That irritates me too. I like the fact that that there was missed calls. I mean, there's talk now of how long is it going to be until we have basically a
robot
umpire for behind the plate. I like watching baseball when they're getting calls wrong sometimes. I like that managers coming out and kicking fucking dirt on
Bobby Cox.
Yes, that's the part of the game. I don't want to lose that part of the game. I want managers out there, just going on a tirade over, acting like a 13-year-old kid, throwing a tantrum out there. I like that. I don't want to lose that part of the game. So there's just, I'm not a fan of really any of these rule changes. Like getting back to kind of what I know I kind of rambled here and I got off of the main argument as far as the DH rule. I guess it doesn't really bother me. I've always been an American League fan, so I like the DH, and I think that being a pitcher, I have more respect for pitchers that have done it for a long time in the American League, because the lineups that they're facing and having to face that DH, having to face that David Ortiz or that Victor Martinez or that Nelson Cruz, for an entire year.
Yeah.
You think about if that's a division opponent, you're facing them 16 times in a season. I mean, that to me, it just to me the lineups that you have to go through as a pitcher in the American League are it's a harder lineup to go through than a National League team. Now the only argument I can make on the National League side is you have your specialist that is a pinch hitter, your pinch hitting specialist, that can, but they're not the caliber hitter that some of these teams have for a DH. So
no, it's being a pinch hitter and being a DH are two very different jobs. Granted, the pinch hitter might actually play the field where the DH doesn't. The DH plays every day.
Yep.
Your pinch hitter has to sit on the bench until the DH is in the starting lineup. Now, and I know we reference the Starting Nine podcast, and like I said, I'm the purist. I like to see the difference. I like to see how the American League juggles things when they go into the National League parks during the World Series. That now that we've incorporated interleague play, and now it's just what it is in baseball. You got to remember, you go back 15, 20 years, you didn't play interleague until the World Series. That was a different ballgame. Now that we've kind of mixed and matched, it's kind of watered. I'm not going to say watered it down because it's still the same game. But this argument is getting, let's be honest, it's going to happen. It's going to happen. And if you take a step back, not just from this issue, but baseball in general, it's the only sport that has two different sets of rules to play the same game. NFL doesn't do it. NBA doesn't. NHL doesn't. So, but to me, that's what makes baseball special, is it has stuff like that. Now, one of the reasons why I'm just giving up this argument, and it's going to happen, is the players. The Players Association will be all for this, and you might ask, well, Turbo, why do you say that? It's going to be a bigger contract for a hitter for every team. You're creating 15 more jobs in baseball. And let's be honest, there's only maybe 3 or 4 pitchers that can actually fucking hit. And if you're going to tell me that you would rather take Madison Bumgarner over Nelson Cruz, get the fuck out of here. As much of a purist as I am, I've been going back, and like I said, this has been coming. It's going to happen. And if the Players Association sees a point where you're going to provide more jobs, because let's be honest, an aging slugger is always going to go to the American League so he can DH. They're not going to go to the National League.
Yeah.
So, I mean, take Miguel Cabrera right now. If the Tigers were to trade him, they're not trading him to a National League park. They're trading him to an American League team because until even if he comes out this year and plays 162 games, which we all know he won't, at first, it's the length of the contract where towards the end, hell, take Victor Martinez as a perfect example. He was a great catcher. Actually played some first for the Tigers, but towards the end of his career was a DH. That's what he did. If you give opportunities for players like that all across the league to extend a slugger's career and it might even come down to it that out of college, because I'm not 100% sure. There's some colleges that have a DH, some don't. But if the DH goes through, I have a feeling it's going to go from the major leagues all the way down. I mean, you're probably going to look at in a number of years in high school, pitchers aren't going to hit. Why? Because you're set. High school might be a little, a little too far, but at least in college, pitchers aren't going to hit.
Yeah.
Why? Because you're wasting time. They're not going to do it in the show, whether that's whatever division or level they're at. They're just not going to do it. You might actually see within 3 or 4 or 5 years, 10 years, players going up just hitters that don't field. They're specialists. And whereas what you might say, well, Turbo, that's a ridiculous argument. No, it's not. Pitchers are specialists.
Yeah.
First basemen aren't really specialists. Fielders can. It takes a special person to play first base. I get it. You're not going to put Pedroia over there at first. Could he do it? Absolutely. Is he the prototypical first baseman? No. And that could be me just spiraling things out of control irrationally. But I think that's where but when this happens, the trickle down I think is going to be the curious part. Because, like I said, their pitchers don't hit anymore. To see it in high school, it might take a little while, maybe, like I said, 5-10 years. But yeah. And going back to the Players Association, you're telling me that my $30 million pitcher doesn't have to get in the box and potentially get hurt? Hell, look at Adam Wainwright. Tore his Achilles coming out of the box after a shitty bunt. You're taking all that out. So you're protecting your investment more. Yep. You're adding more revenue and jobs. I don't care what business you're in. That's a good thing going forward.